Hello, my lovelies. It's Susanna, and today I want to show you two different ways how to solve this equation in the real number system. X over x to the power of -1 equals 16. The first way is to take a look at your denominator, so take the x to the power of -1 and write this in a different way. Because every time you have a negative exponent, so let's say you have x to the power of -a, any negative number, then this is actually a fraction. So you can always write this as 1 over, and then you take this expression here, so x to the power of, but instead of the -a, you make it positive and you write to the power of a. So our expression here is actually a fraction, and we can always write it as 1 over, so 1 over. And then we take our expression here, the x to the power of, and instead of the -1, we make it positive, and we have to the power of 1. Or, yeah, in this case, we don't have to write the 1 at all, so it is just 1 over x. So instead of the green denominator here, we're going to replace it by 1 over x. So we have on the left side x over, and instead of this, we write a 1 over x, and on the other side, we have the 16. Okay, so now we have a fraction on the left side, and we can simplify this because we have x over this fraction, so we have x divided by 1 over x. And instead of dividing by a fraction, we write down the x and we multiply by its reciprocal. So we switch these two so that we have x over 1. We don't have to write the over 1, so this is just x. So here we have x times x, which equals x squared. So the left side can be simplified to x squared. So we have x squared equals 16 here. So we have a quadratic equation, and we only want to get rid of the square here, so we can take the square root on both sides of the equation. The square root helps us to get rid of the square here, so only x is left, but we have to be aware that in an equation we get two solutions, a first positive solution and a second negative solution. The positive one is the square root of 16, which equals 4, and the negative one is negative the square root of 16, so we get -4 here. 4 solutions for our equation. The question is, are both solutions valid? Because our x here is in the denominator, so we have to be careful if these solutions are real solutions. So what about the domain of my equation here? Which values are allowed to be inserted for my x? We should solve this equation in the real number system. So in general, I am allowed to insert all real numbers except for some numbers that could cause some issues, like dividing by 0. So could it happen that we divide by 0 here? We could either take this expression here or work with this one, because we can see that we have x here in the denominator. We are not allowed to divide by 0, so x itself is not allowed to be equal to 0, so 0 is not in my domain. I'm not allowed to insert it for my x. That's why I have this except for the number 0 here. But we have to be careful because this x here is not the only denominator we have. We also have this here as a denominator, right? Because we have divided by 1 over x. So the next question is 0 the only number we are not allowed to use, or are there more? So we can take the 1 over x and ask the question, when is this going to be equal 0, because then we would divide by 0. Is this even possible? Well, let's solve this little equation here for x. We want to get x out of the denominator, so we multiply both sides of the equation by x. Here it cancels out and only 1 is left. And on the other side we have 0 times x, which just equals 0. So 1 equals 0. That is not true. This is not a true statement. So 1 over x cannot equal 0, which is good. So that means that this orange denominator will never be equal to 0. So we don't have to take any more numbers out of the domain. Only 0 is not allowed to be inserted for our x. That means that 4 and -4 are allowed to be inserted for our x, so that these two are really solutions to our equation. But this was only the first way. I'm curious which way you used to solve this equation, so please let me know in the comments, because another way would be to take a look at the left side and to use powers. I mean, we have x to the power of -1, and here we have x to the power of 1. And there are rules how to divide powers. So if you have x to the power of a over x to the power of b, this is the same as taking the base, so the x, and subtracting the exponents. So take a and subtract b. The base stays the same, but our new exponent is this here. So let's apply this rule here. Our base stays the same. This will be x, but our exponent is the upper exponent, so my 1 minus the other exponent here, so I subtract the -1 here. I write it in parentheses, and on the other side I have the 16. Now I can calculate this. I have x to the power of minus is going to be a plus, so 1 plus 1 equals 2, and this equals 16. So I have the same quadratic equation like I had in the first way. I know that 4 and -4 are solutions, and this is just a different way how to solve this problem. I'm curious which way you use, so please let me know in the comments. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. It helps me a lot. I wish you a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Take care.